I just wanted to write a song about ADHD because all my life I've known I was different. Everyone found their school journey to be so smooth, and I just thought mine was the most nauseating roller coaster. I got told by so many ex-boyfriends and ex-partners that I was just downright unlovable. But I feel like I deal with it now with music.
My God, your songs are catchy. How do you make something that just sticks?
Neurodivergence.
We've had such a great response to the podcast, and so many of you have been in touch asking what you can do to help. It's really simple. Just follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That way we can reach more people, and that way we can celebrate these great minds that think differently. Mae Stevens went from working at Asda to becoming an overnight TikTok global sensation with her hit If We Ever Broke Up. She later signed with a major record label, performed at Glastonbury, released a single with Meghan Trainor, and racked up an incredible 500 million streams worldwide. Mae now channels her neurodivergent creativity into her music, including one of her latest tracks, ADHD. Her journey proves that no dream is too big for a neurodivergent mind. Let's get into it. Let's see how great minds think differently. Mae Stevens, can you tell me about your song ADHD?
I just wanted to write a song about ADHD. I feel like there wasn't really one out about it. And so if so many people are starting to realize that they're neurodivergent, why not write a song about it? And that was also in a period of time where I was still sort of figuring myself out as a person. And I knew that I was neurodivergent. I knew that there was always something behind those eyes that I could never quite figure out, because all my life I've known I was different. I've known that I've never been able to retain information like other kids. I was never able to learn at the same level as other kids. Everyone found their school journey to be so smooth, and I just thought mine was the most nauseating roller coaster. I couldn't retain information unless it was like colors and shapes or song lyrics. And it just, riddled me with anxiety for school because I knew I was different.
And so now, kind of understanding more about how your brain works, how do you feel on reflection looking back?
Honestly, if I could sort of talk to myself in that position from now, I'd just say to him, you need to stop caring what everyone thinks, because ultimately it doesn't matter. They're all in their own insecurities. But I think I was so worried that somebody would catch me out for being different. I was always the friend that walked on the grass, or the friend that was too weird to hang out with, or I found myself hopping between friend groups because I couldn't find people that would just accept my weirdness, or I'd land myself in a group of weird friends that would then tell me that I'm too weird to hang around with. So I got really, really isolated. And so I'd say to myself just to stop caring about people's opinions. And then the moment you leave school, you flourish, you find other people, you go to college, you find your style. And I think that is genuinely the only period of time that I actually flourished at all. School was just depressing, not gonna lie. There was not enough help in the system, especially for neurodivergent kids. It was more like my brother had the same thing. My brother was at school. He literally just got put in a corner because he was autistic. There was no regard for it. And so we all felt really uncomfortable. We didn't really know how to approach the situation. It's oh, you're lazy, you're not listening. Most of my parental comments on stuff in parents' evening was, oh, she's great. She just is on another planet almost all of the time. And there was no support to it. So we always assumed that it was wrong and that I was just some kid who was lazy and couldn't focus and disorientated from reality. And it wasn't really until I turned sort of 16, 17 that my parents started looking into sort of ADHD and going, okay, we understand you more. Especially my mum has spent so much time researching it to understand her daughter.
Yeah, the school system education piece is a recurring theme of you being on another planet, being a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm just dreaming about One Direction, guys. I can't help it. Honestly, it was more in the sense of every time we'd get into something, for example, history. I love history. I love dark history. I'm obsessed with the plague and all of that stuff.
Yes.
But then if it's something I'm not interested in, we disassociate, we remove ourselves. And a lot of the time, I didn't realize I was doing it until I snapped back in like 10 minutes later, and I've got the teacher talking to me. And my history teacher turned around and went, "It seems like you only retain information if it's like song lyrics." Because all the teachers were friends. And she was like, "Look, I want you to revise all of your subjects, especially history, in songs. Put the lyrics into songs, do whatever you need to do." And I was like, "That's not going to work." And then I tried it, and it was the only reason I passed my exams. And I had so many teachers turn around to me and go, "Look, we don't think you're going to pass. Like, you've just not showed a much promise." And then passing, that sense of euphoria where everyone's like, "No, you're not going to do well." And then you pass everything and it's just, yeah, it was a really sort of up and down time. Because at the same time, I didn't understand myself. They didn't understand me. And I didn't know how to navigate the situation at all.
And how do you feel about yourself now?
I mean, I'm absolutely nuts. And I feel like I'm still in the period of like accepting certain things about myself and wanting to change certain things. But for the most part, my partner has been a massive help in sort of helping me accept myself and understand things about myself. He's going through the process as well of figuring himself out and seeing if he has ADHD and other sort of ailments. And yeah, we've both sort of helped each other through it, understood masking. Yeah, I feel confident, a lot more confident in myself now. And it's just kind of making it aware to other people and sort of saying to you, don't need to shy away from this. You can dress however you want. You can, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, be yourself, be what you're comfortable in.
And your fans, how do they react to that?
I mean, I actually did have some fans who called themselves the Rainbow Girls, which is honestly one of my favorite things. In fact, I'd love to shout out a specific fan. Her name is Alicia. She is one of my biggest fans, and she is hands down one of the nicest people I've ever met. And she takes a lot from me wearing colors, me wearing stuff that's like dopamine dressing. I try to make sure that when I'm on stage, like you can see my stomach or you can see, stretch marks or so, like all of these things that should be normalized, especially to the younger generation. And she takes it in her stride. She's a beautiful human, such a kind, genuine soul. And I feel like all the color and sort of talking to her about self-expression, I feel like it's really helped her as well. She's come out of her shell a lot more. Her mum spoke to me about it as well. And that's all I want to do for everyone, is just help them understand that you can dress as you please and you can be yourself. And people can't get mad at it, to be honest. People are so uptight these days.
What do you think are the common themes or characteristics of your fan base?
Misfits. A lot of people hate that word, but I find that word so empowering, being a misfit. I feel like a lot of the time it's kids that feel like they either don't fit in or they feel a little bit removed or just generally different. I mean, I was the weird kid. I was literally the kid at the bottom of the food chain in school that either nobody wanted to be friends with because they couldn't deal with it, or people just didn't like me because I was quite open. And my biggest thing is sort of proving to these kids that you can get there. You don't have to be this big popular silly Sally with, big long hair and all this stuff. You can get there. You just have to work hard, be passionate about something and enjoy your craft, and ultimately be yourself through and through. And I tried to sort of push that through with, like, I don't know, for example, tattoos and stuff. Like, I don't have normal tattoos. I have very weird tattoos, and it's all the stuff I loved as a kid or stuff that shaped me as a person, because I'm trying to show these kids, the weird and the wonderful is something not to be afraid of, something to embrace, and I don't know, get a tattoo of Kirby with a knife.
How do you think that's been for your parents, seeing these, what sounds like sort of a tale of two halves of, being at school? I know you were bullied really badly. I know you withdrew, and you're saying you felt different from others. Then you've had this insane kind of impact and like a rocket ship. Yeah. What's your sense of like your parents seeing you through all of that?
I mean, to start off, I hate change. I find so much comfort in everything staying the same on like stuff that I know. And I think my dad's sort of the same. We both struggle with the idea of change. And this changed both of our lives entirely. There was not a thing that stayed the same. And I think for him as well, especially my dad, we'd been working on this together for so many years, had so many fights over it, blood, sweat and tears, so many days of just constant work. And then for this to all happen, it was almost like a sense of relief and then just a lot of crying. Because it's one of those things, like, you work so hard and, you believe that you can get to this place and so many people tell you can't, or it's this unreachable goal. And then you finally make it and it's like, well, what do we do next? Or it's just this sense of, oh my God, we've actually done it. And I remember sitting in EMI when we were about to get signed, and I remember having to hand a cupcake to my dad because he was about to cry. And I was the exact same. And we just looked at each other in absolute disbelief, like, especially for, us who come from a family that just straight up work hard and always have strived to be something or to get somewhere. It was the most emotional, like, day of my life and my parents' life. My mum is the same as well. Even now, I still sit here and wonder how that happened, and like that this is my life and this is something that I get to have and appreciate. Honestly, I feel so blessed.
Tell me about that morning you woke up and you've got 7-8 million views on your TikTok.
A hangover like hell. I drank like 10 men the night before, not gonna lie. And then I was sat next to my partner and I had like a hairband around my wrist and I kept snapping it. And my boyfriend was like, stop, like, are you good? And I was like, it's like showing my phone to him, like trying to actually form a sentence. And it was just unbelievable. I thought I'd either been like, not to be crude, but hit by a car the night before and I was in a coma, or I was still drunk, or somebody had popped me something. I had no idea. I was just in such a state of disbelief. And then coming home to my dad, who had this like ear to ear grin, same with my mum, it was just like we looked at each other and went, is this going to be something? Like, have we just got one viral video and it's gone somewhere? It was unbelievable. And then the labels that reached out, the ball started rolling and then just got faster and faster and faster and just didn't stop. And so we were in this sort of rush of, all this is happening, this rush of like, oh my God. And then obviously the stress takes a toll. But yeah, it was the best moment of my life. And it's something that me and him will never forget. Like we will never forget that feeling. And we will always appreciate that feeling every time we get it, to remind us to stay grounded of what we had.
And just to give people a sense of people maybe who don't know Mae, or who are just hearing Mae talking for the first time, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but Mae's song was the second most watched music video on TikTok in 2023 in the world.
Yeah. Anxiety riddling, but amazing. Like to know
massive, Mae.
To know that many people have seen my face and heard my voice. I mean, it sets me on fire, but
I've got sweaty palms and goosebumps sitting here talking to you about it, because it's really easy, I think, in this day and age to look from the outside and go, boom, they blew up. Wow, you can do this overnight. But actually, you've been working towards this actually from like 12, right?
Yeah, years of open mics and pub gigs and like carrying my keyboard through London Underground. And
what was the worst one? Tell me about the worst gig.
The worst gig? Oh, okay. I've told this story quite a bit and it never gets old. So I did an open mic in this town, Corby, that's not far from me. And we did it in this pub. And basically there was a wake going on next door. And they'd been drinking since probably the early hours of the morning. They were all absolutely waked by the time we'd got in. Excuse my language. And this guy was playing before me, guy I know. And as he's playing halfway through his song, two guys burst through the door, beating each other's heads in, right? I'm sat there waiting with my keyboard, like, what the hell is going on? And then two wives follow after them, trying to pummel each other to the floor. I'm like, oh God, okay, right, it's fine, whatever. And then you peek round the corner at the door and there is people just pulverizing each other in the hallways. It's like, it was almost like, honestly, it was like a scene from Romeo and Juliet, except more violent. It was just insane. And then you just see these like wives scraping their husbands off the floor. And the next thing I know, 8 coppers walk in and they've tried to like pepper spray or like mace the people, but they mace their own eyes. So then they're stood in the corner dousing their eyes in water and screaming. And then I go on stage. And while I'm on stage, everything's sort of calmed down, except people from the wake are like trying to sneak their way into the bar. And you can just see like somebody walk in really casually and then a police officer just dragging them out by the collar and people just like, no, no. And it was just one of those moments where before I went on stage, I turned to my dad and went, should we do this? And my dad went, yeah, why not? Give it a crack. Something goes wrong, I'll grab your keyboard, we'll run and get in the car.
It's like the warm-up act. Yeah.
This guy that was playing was so traumatized, bless him. He's so lovely. But it was just the most awkward moment of just watching these two guys beat the crap out of each other.
And so then fast forward me to your favourite gig.
Probably the first gig my brother came to, which was Hyde Park on the Rainbow Stage. I look up to my brother a lot. My brother has saved my life twice with a lot of stuff to do with bullying and school. He was always there to listen to me. And I take great pride in my craft, especially if I've got someone, that I love and respect so much watching. And I basically walked out on stage and then had to like try not to cry because I'd seen my brother, he was watching me. He'd never seen me on a stage. He'd never seen me sort of as Mae. Yeah, it was one of those moments. I think that and my first gig on a massive stage, I opened for Anne-Marie and I was doing my sound check and my mum and dad went out to go and listen in the field. And I played Stranger, which especially for our family is just a song that holds so much emotion and so much trauma. And I started singing, and about halfway through the song, I can see my dad in the distance fall to his knees and start crying. I see my mum like hugging him, and that just set me alight. And I think for him and for me, it was the realization of, oh, we're on a stage this big. Oh my God, we might have actually made something here. It's so emotional for me. Like I could cry now. It's just so emotional for me and my dad. I have such a high level of respect for my parents for everything they've done for me. And yeah, it's not just a win for me, it's a win for him as well. We've worked so hard and I wouldn't be the artist I am without my dad. Sorry to be soppy.
Check that out, Dad. He'll be lapping it up, I'm sure. I want to switch to talking about something you mentioned near the beginning about you understanding rejection sensitivity. Mm-hmm. Tell me a bit more about what you've learned and how you deal with that.
I'm a chronic overthinker. I sit in my head 90% of the day. And from a very, very young age, I was convinced that everyone hated me. And I think as well as that, from the bullying, from all the rejection in school as well, I got to college at around like 16, 17, and I struggled to make friends. Like I got friends with one of these bitchy girls and then she would talk about me behind my back and that just reignited everything from school. And so I was convinced everyone hated me. I was even like stuff like going into a shop and buying something, the cashier would be cold or someone I'd know and I'd be like, no, they don't like me. I've done something. I've affected someone. And most of it just revolved around people's views and opinions on me. I became so obsessed. I used to sit and like scroll through social media on my old account or on other tagged photos to see if anyone had said anything. And I think the prime thing in school is everyone talks crap. Everyone likes to talk about other people. And because I was this loud, eccentric child, there were so many rumors that went round all of the time. And so I held on to those for so many years.
Like what? Rumors like what?
I remember when I came out, I was basically forced to come out because I have not the greatest memory. I always try to, especially if I misgender someone or I mispronounce someone, I'm immediately there to apologize because in no way, shape or form do I want to offend anyone. I accidentally misgendered someone and they called me homophobic and then told the whole school I was homophobic. So then I had to go, oh, wait, no. I'm actually bisexual. Like, I just want to put this out there. I'm not homophobic at all. And then it kind of forced me to come out. And then there was this rumor going around that I'd slept with, multiple girls or I'd done this or I was greedy. It was that. And there was like rumors about my mum. My mum's got multiple sclerosis. And there was loads of rumors going around about her and how she was in a wheelchair and all of this stuff. And it was all things that were a part of such a private aspect of my life that I just have absolutely no idea how they got out there. And half the time it was like friends that had just leaked information because they didn't really want to be friends with me anymore. And it genuinely just disrupted my trust in people. And yeah, I got into this notion only really until I met my partner that everyone just did not want to be around me, that I was this like decrepit, horrible human being that had just made them like almost like polishing a turd. You know what I mean? Like happy on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, I think that's sort of the only side of things that I've ever really been comfortable enough to explore, only because it's just such a trauma aspect for me. I still worry about people's opinions, but I feel like with all the keyboard warriors on TikTok and like, you know, online bullying, it doesn't faze me as much now. I feel like I'm stronger now with all the rumors that went around at school and stuff to be able to withstand hate and bullying and people not believing than I was when I was younger. I really struggled to even think, even with my partner, I'm still in constant need of reassurance that he still loves me and that he still likes me, because I'm still so in my head with these words that people said at 16 that I'm just unlovable. I got told by so many ex-boyfriends and ex-partners that I was just downright unlovable. And yeah,
I feel really angry hearing you say that.
yeah, just horrible people. One of the guys I dated for a little bit, he broke my heart. Like, we were supposed to go to a party together. He absolutely broke my heart. I was on the way to Disneyland. And he turned around to me the morning after this party, after he'd done some unimaginable stuff, and went, "You are so blackmailing. You are so toxic. You are gaslighting. No one will love you because you are just so attached." And that broke me. I spent like 3 days in Disneyland crying my eyes out because I thought I was this useless human being that was just selfish and greedy. And yeah, it took a massive toll. And then when I met my partner, Adam, it just sort of melted away. And like, I've been with him for, almost 4 years. And even now, like, I still need that reassurance, but I know that I don't have to impress anyone else. I only have to, I only have to dress for my partner.
So my understanding is, and I've said this before, children with ADHD are exposed to 20,000 more negative messages growing up, often that's at school, than kids who aren't ADHD. And as human beings, obviously, we hear these messages and then we adopt them as beliefs.
Yeah.
And we adopt them as the internal monologue that we then kind of talk about ourselves as. Yeah. How do you think that has changed for you now versus absorbing all this negativity and all these horrible things, then presumably taking them inside and believing them?
I was an agony aunt for every single one of my friends. Like, I was always the friend that if they had a problem, whether I had any knowledge on that subject or not, I would sit and listen to them. And I took in a lot of trauma from other people. So when it came to sort of my own trauma, I was capable of letting things go. Like, there was a lot of the time where I could just sort of breathe it off. But I do have a terrible, terrible trait of just building anger. I had a lot of anger problems when I was a kid. We went through like multiple after school clubs and I found music, and that was sort of where a lot of that got released. But I feel like I deal with it now with music. I started dealing with it with music. I'd have the worst day at school and then I'd come home, do 5 hours on the piano, and nobody could speak to me in that time. Like, it was such a deep hyperfixation. It was just my way of like throwing my emotions out as opposed to punching a wall. And then that was just something that stuck. Even now, if I have a bad day at work, I'll go home and write a song. I'll go home and write a piano riff, or I'll sit on Logic, or I'll do something, because that's the only way I've ever known to be able to release emotion. Like, even if me and my partner have a fight, I will be straight on that piano.
What does that do for you?
It's so strange. I will walk into my studio raging, like on fire, annoyed. And then 20 minutes go by, I'm writing, I'm letting this stuff go. I come out and I am like the most zen human being you've ever seen. Like, it's such a weird thing. And I have no idea in that time period where the emotion goes or when it gets released. I just come out and I feel so much better.
Are you playing that anger? Are you writing that anger?
For me, I cannot open my eyes when I sing or when I play. And it's partial to the fact that I can see certain things when I play. I don't know if it's sort of related to synesthesia, but I almost especially when I'm angry, when I'm playing, the colors go from red to blue. And when they've gone blue, I know that I'm okay enough to step up and leave. But actually, very, very recently, it has been a multitude of colors. And I feel like maybe that's me getting older and my emotions getting more and more complex. But that has always been the thing. I'd close my eyes, I'd start playing, I see all these red things, I see, red animation, whatever. And then it just turns blue randomly. And I don't remember the pivotal time when it turns blue. I just know that it's blue and I stop and I take a moment. It's bizarre. And it's just something that has been such a comfort net for me for so many years. And I don't like change, so I will never stop it. It's my therapy. My partner knows if I'm annoyed, just put her in the office, close the door, give her 20 minutes, she'll come out happy. And
play the piano.
Yeah, literally sit.
You've talked twice now about hating change. And I guess I'm continually learning about my relationship with change, in that I want lots of things to change.
Yeah.
Because they're not good enough, or they're not okay, or that's not right, or they can be better. But then at the same time, I hate change.
Honestly.
I feel like I'm in constant struggle with it.
It is like you're getting pulled either arm. I'm the same. I have stuff like, so when it comes to stuff that I categorically cannot change, it's stuff like outfit combinations or childhood meals. We have a rule in my house. If you change a childhood recipe that my parents have created, I will kill you. I can't stand it. Like mac and cheese is my comfort food. I could eat it for the rest of my life. And it is just literally like pasta, cheese, sweet corn, broccoli, like really simple. My partner I come from a family where the vegetables are boiled with water and like sugar, or like water and salt, or like we have, shepherd's pie, or like boiled vegetables. My partner comes from a family that's like heavy spices. We fry our vegetables. Like they cook a lot, they cook on the other end of the spectrum compared to my family. And so it's very much very clashy if he's like, try new flavors. And I'm like, no. So he's not allowed to touch the childhood recipes. But in regards to sort of other things that I'm okay with accepting sort of change, it's majority revolving in my surroundings in my house. I will set something up and then it will stay like that. There is no change. I have certain fixations over other things, but my house is a constant revolving nightmare of just like half-finished projects and stuff, because I'm constantly trying to change my surroundings to suit my situation. But my situation is so ever-changing that I'm having to like quickly move things around to try and sort it. And it is just chaos.
What are the things that you're happy to change? What are the, I guess, more of the dopamine seeking, gimme, happy to change, let's try a new one?
My style. I feel like this is the biggest thing for me. I have been on a whole ass journey with my style. I had like a grungy era. I had like a basic era where I was wearing tracksuits and Nikes and Air Force and long brown hair and big eyebrows. And then, I moved to my grungy phase, which I dyed my hair blue in lockdown. Absolutely failed. And I kind of went through so many different types of styles because I had absolutely no idea where I sat, because I had never had that chance in school where everyone made their little cliques and their groups. So I definitely was a late bloomer in that sense, but I am always ever changing my style. I even look back to like when I got signed, even compared to now, like my style has gone through like 8 generations in that period of time. And I think it's something that will just ever change and ever grow. And I know, especially being an artist, like you have to have a constant red line, you have to have a constant image. That's never going to happen with me. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to come in and do a metal track one day, just being all black, hair dyed, everything. Like I have no idea what the future entails for me and my style as an artist, but I just know it will not be the same. It will.
What inspires you then? What inspires you to change your style? What inspires you to change to that style?
I feel like when I reach a new level of life, one of my most recent sort of level ups is I recently gained like another level of relationship with my mum, like another level of trust, another level of love. We just had a long conversation and I realized I'm so similar to my mum, and I feel like I gained another adult card. And then it just changed again. I cut my hair. I hate change in every other aspect, but I cannot sit with the same thing with my image. My hair is constantly changing colors. I'm constantly getting piercings, tattoos. I signed to the label with 3 tattoos. I now have 58. Like, there is no, and the worst thing is, like, you look at some of these and like to the average person, they'd be like, why the hell did you get that? But for me, I'm trying to remind myself of the phases I went through, like of little like landmarks or trinkets that can remind me of each set of phases in my life.
I have exactly the same approach. I mean, most of my tattoos now are drawn by my kids.
That's cool as hell, though.
Because that marks a moment in their life as well.
Yeah.
I've got way more weedy, so I've got lots of big tattoos, but then now I only want small, quick, simple, easy, thin line, no colouring in.
They tell you what, the pain tolerance wears off, doesn't it? Honestly, my pain tolerance is really worn off. But I have one tattoo that for me, so I went through so many after school clubs as a kid. Like, my parents could not throw me in anymore because I had just all this unneeded energy. And then the day I wrote my first song, I got this guitar for my 9th Christmas. I wrote this song about a mother wolf and her cubs when I was 12. And it was just this quick thing. Took my guitar downstairs to my dad and I played this song to my mum and my dad. And my dad turned around and went, I think we finally found what you're good at. And it wasn't like it was such a sweet phrase. And that just solidified my love for music and my love for creation and knowing that I'd finally found something that I could settle with. And then it became a release mechanism for my trauma and my anger. And then it became an addiction and then a passion and then turned into something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And, you know, every day my dad sort of turned around to me in those bad moments and went, do you still want to do this? And every time without fail, I went, yeah, this is my calling. I could not feel any more privileged. You know, I could have turned around to my dad and gone, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a vet. And I turned around to my dad and went, I want to be a musician. And obviously, you know, when we were going through this, it was like, musicians, you know, you're not going to make much money, you know, you're going to end up being a busker or something's going to happen. And my dad just went, cool, that's what you want to do, that's something you're passionate about, that's something you're good at, let's go for it. And he went full steam ahead. And you know, a lot of my friends love my parents as well because they're so supportive. They will take the time to love, nurture, and understand. And both of my parents have said to me from a very young age, they strive to find what me and my brother were good at. I think it's so important, you know, especially for a kid to flourish in something that they enjoy. And like, I was a very anxious kid. So for me, like very extroverted and then very anxious and self-conscious. And so I would constantly worry about, you know, where's my future going to lead? What am I going to do? And to have both my parents just go full steam ahead into something that could have been nothing, I have so much respect for them. It's so important for a kid's mental state. It's so important to know that they have the backing of their parents. They have a support net. They have, you know, this cushioning of love from their parents and, well, say that unconditional love and support. And so, yeah, I have this. Do you know how hard it is to get your father to write something and then not know it's for a tattoo? I had to tell him
he didn't know.
No, I had to tell him it was for like the artwork for an EP. And I was like, do your best handwriting because it's going on my body for the rest of my life.
I love that. I say to my wife, I love your bones. And I wrote that, my handwriting, and she has that tattooed on her arm. Yeah, which is, it's a great way of... Yeah. I think tattoos are brilliant for that. So sentimental. And maybe haven't gone quite on the extreme of starting with 3 and then 58 later, but you know, what are you hyper focused on, special interests right now?
Oh God.
Apart from matcha, because we know about that one.
It's so unhealthy. Currently, Kewpie Mayo. Such a weird one. Like,
I absolutely share the love.
Have you tried? Okay, I'm going to give you something.
It's so good.
You like cucumber?
Mayo, everybody buy Kewpie Mayo. You won't go back to
I'm trying to get my
mayo.
dad to buy some. He's like, what's the difference? I'm like, everything. It will change your life.
Egg
do you like
yolks
cucumber?
Only. I love cucumber.
Do you like sriracha?
I do like sriracha.
My biggest addiction at the moment is like chunked cucumber covered in Korean mayo and sriracha. That is my I will just scran that all day long. But
Kewpie
Mayo is so good.
Had that word for a while.
Oh, scran is a staple.
Okay, so Kewpie Mayo.
Colouring. Specifically, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it on TikTok. A lot of colouring stuff has gone very viral, specifically Bobby Goods, their colouring books. Mario Kart, I have had this addiction or this hyperfixation for around 6 to 7 months. That's an addiction. Glossier. That's the other thing. You find something that's good and then you just go, I'm gonna buy all of it because why not? I've really grown to love like Glossier lip balm, so I'm currently collecting them, and it's just embarrassing how many I've got in like 2 weeks. Not
Do
gonna
you
lie.
like collecting things?
I love it. If I have the whole collection of something, I'm so happy. I collect a lot of Hello Kitty memorabilia and a lot of Sanrio, to the point where my entire office is just stacked to the brim with stuff that I don't even have a place for. But I've loved Hello Kitty since I was a kid. Like, it's just something so comforting to me. And so every time I go to like Tokyo or I go to LA and stuff, I always buy an ungodly amount of Hello Kitty memorabilia. And it's still now just one of my biggest hyperfixations. Just anything with that face on, I will buy it. I don't care if it's the weirdest thing you have ever sold. It is going home.
Do you get this thing where I'm specifically thinking about songwriting, where you can't get the words out fast enough or you can't write them down fast enough? Do you think faster than you can type or speak or sing?
I have been known for not thinking before I speak. My mum always used to catch me out on it. The words just kind of verbal diarrhea outwards. But when I'm in sessions, I do struggle sometimes. And then what comes out is just a bunch of stuttering and like weird sounds, kind of like a. And this producer will just look at me like, "Are you okay? Do I need to call someone? Like, you mentally okay? You good?" And it's so debilitating at times, but other times we just end up like breaking out in just laughter because I can't get my words across. But I do have a bit of a stutter. I had my stutter on and off for a couple of years in school due to all the anxiety. And then with the stress of the music industry, I recently got this stutter back, and it's kind of nice to have it back. I feel like it was so comforting before, but now, like, and then that period of time I didn't have it, I felt like I lost a little bit of myself. But I've sort of got it back now, and I used to be so apologetic about my stutter. I used to be very, very apologetic about it. And it's so nice to know that people just brush over it now. It's kind of like people with tics as well. Everyone seems to it's just normal. It's fine, it's not something you can control. And so I have this stutter back, but it comes out when I'm not thinking about my words as well, really badly. It's just part of me though. Yeah, it's very weird sometimes. Honestly, sometimes half the sounds that come out sound like farts. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you think there's been a change in how people view mental health, ADHD? Do you think there's been a shift in your generation?
I think 100%. I feel like TikTok has been the biggest platform, for like oversharing, for chronic oversharing. I feel like the field have learned so much more about the development in our brains and sort of how, neurotypical people work as opposed. For me, having this information on TikTok or seeing people sharing their little things, sharing their habits and stuff, it has made my life so much easier. I feel like in the past 2 years, I've discovered more of myself than I ever have. Me and my partner both have gone through the mill, just learning so much about each other, and it's helped us in our relationship. It's helped me and my relationship with my parents. I think it's helped my parents understand me on another level as well, because my mum is constantly sending me like Instagram and TikTok reels and stuff like that of ADHD and like other content. I think it's incredible, and I think if this keeps going the way it does and we keep sharing our experiences and things that we notice, diagnosis will just be such a breezy process. And I feel like an ungodly amount of the population is neurodivergent, and it's about time that all of that came to light. It's about time people got the help that they needed, the medication they needed, and just to feel bloody normal, but normal, you can feel normal or you can feel neuro, and both are fun.
Why did you, this is the slightly self-indulgent question here of like, why, based on what you've just said,
Yeah.
why did you then want to come on the Hidden 20%?
All of this has to be brought to light. All of this has to be spoken about. And for me, on my journey of sort of discovering my brain and all of this stuff, podcasts helped. I listened to, your podcast, and how much you talk about it, it normalizes it. It makes people like me feel seen and heard. And I have so many friends that are neurodivergent and just don't have that safe space to talk or to hear other people's experiences. And so being able to talk about my side of things, it gives me clarity, because then I have people message me and go, I feel the same. But I also hopefully get to help that little girl or little boy or person who's just sat there wondering why they're going through this, why their thought process is different to everyone else's. And I wish so much that when I was younger, I'd have had that, because I was so lost and so in my own head about who I was, that I've only really flourished when this stuff has come to light. And so I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. And I think it will set such an incredible mindset for the generation ahead.
Do you think your fan base associate with neurodivergence?
I think so, yeah. I mean, a lot of the fans that I've spoken to have said to me, like, I've got ADHD, your song has really helped me. I've got OCD, I've got all these things. For me, I've never been money driven. I've never been someone who cares about fame, fortune, and fancy cars. I care about helping those people, being that artist that can normalize the weird kid winning for once, but also normalize getting overstimulated on stage, or having a stim in the middle of a podcast like I am now with my fingers. But just normalizing these things that were so forbidden and so looked upon when I was younger, that all I want to do is show the generation it's okay. And I feel like, that applies with also dopamine dressing and finding things that you love and that you're passionate and that you're good at. And if it's a weird and quirky hobby, go do it. Okay? Like, I feel like we are so, repressed, and we reform, and all of these things that are going on right now with the trends and like people sheeping each other with social trends and stuff. I feel like everyone is starting on that tip of individuality, and it's going to get bigger. And there are going to be way more diverse groups in 10, 15 years. And I cannot wait to be old as hell, sat on my little chair in my house in the middle of nowhere, watching this unfold, because the world is weird, wonderful, beautiful, and crazy, and so are people. And I can't wait to see what it turns into.
Yeah, well, it needs more people like you, Mae, to be literally standing up and speaking up for it. It's needed and it's powerful. Do you remember when you first heard the phrase ADHD? Do you remember how you came across that world?
I'm really going to contradict myself here when I tell you this story. So one of my friends I went to school with, she basically turned around one day, and bear in mind, ADHD had never been mentioned in the school, If it had been, the opinions that were on ADHD was it's a label for you being lazy and irresponsible. And so I remember one of my friends turned around and went, I'm hopefully going to get a diagnosis. And I just remember thinking, that's so silly. You're going to go get a diagnosis for just having a spicy brain. And so that was my view on it, really, up until, a good couple of years ago, when stuff started to surface. And from then I just did so much research on it. But I feel like even like before my parents really understood in depth what this really was, they sort of had the same view on it. I turn to my parents and go, I really do think I have ADHD. I really think I'm neurodivergent. Like, I don't feel normal. And my mum would be like, no, you're just going through some phases right now. You're doing all this stuff. And it was never on my mum or my dad. It was simply on the knowledge that they didn't have. And I don't expect them to. It was on social media. That generation is like, what, Facebook? Really?
MySpace?
My God, MySpace. But yeah, and then when they really started to understand that this was something I was so serious about, my mom took so much time to sort of understand it herself. And then she sat down with my dad, and my dad learned quite a lot as well on his side. And from that, I now have an incredible relationship with both my parents. They understand me. They know when I'm masking. My dad knows when I'm not okay, like that. I have such a deep understanding with my parents now, and I understand both my mum and my dad on another level to this. And ADHD can be a blessing It can be, everyone says it's a disorder. Girlfriend, you are just spicy and a little bit different. And it has changed my entire life.
Tell me about that lyric, that line, that it's not a disorder.
Disorder is the wrong term. It's just my normality. I think that is hands down one of the best lyrics I've ever written. I'm going to say that. We wrote this song in Vegas of all places. I was on a writing camp and I was sat with 5 other people, honestly 5 of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And we had a really, really in-depth conversation about how I was on this journey of discovery and going through and figuring myself out as I was getting older. And yeah, we sort of turned around and they went, oh, so like ADHD is, a disorder and stuff. And I went, hold on a second, no, ADHD is not a disorder. It is a superpower. I may get a little bit distracted when I make a cup of tea. Yes, I may not be able to handle if somebody tells me to do the Hoover and I'm not going to do it. However, I'm creative. I am colorful. I express myself. I feel like everyone in the industry has some kind of neurospiciness, because otherwise, how would we create such incredible things that we do? And so sat there thinking about that. I was like, how the hell is this a disorder? How are people ranking this as something that's debilitating to someone? In certain ways, yes, but we would not be the people we are with it. Compared to neurotypical people, we are out of this world extraordinary. And I don't think that's something that should be dulled down. I feel like medication is a great way to keep your head on task, but I don't believe in dimming the sparkle. I feel like the sparkle was given to you for a reason and you should explore it.
And what was the response to that song?
For me, the positivity that came back was just unbelievable. People just arising to the fact of this is not a disability, this is a bloody superpower.
But there are challenges.
There are,
right?
Yes.
I know we've talked about some of them, but for you and your brain, what are the challenges of ADHD?
Time management. Time management is debilitating for me. I will get ready like 4 hours earlier and then I'll be in waiting mode or something will happen. And then, oh, look, I'm 3 hours late. I think time management, organization and cleanliness, I feel like that is something that a lot of people with ADHD struggle with. I cannot seem to keep my life clean. I can't, have you ever heard the phrase like, don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down, put it away.
No, I haven't.
It was like a phrase that circulated on TikTok and I tried it for so long and I just can't do it. I have to do like one big clean and it's like everything's in a horrible state and I'll just go and like blitz for 6 hours and like come out and the house is sparkling and then like 3 days later it's back to normal. But it's just something that I've always struggled with. I never had a clean room as a kid, as opposed to having like 2 ex-soldiers for parents who were really clean. My room was always like, bomb went off. So it's something that hopefully, with a lot of work and perseverance, I can get better with. But that time management, I cannot wear a piece of clothing without staining it. I don't know whether this is a superpower or just damn right horrible, but I cannot wear a piece of clothing without it getting stained. Nope, there you go. I thought I was going to catch myself out here and be like, I'm wearing a clean shirt, but I'm not. That's something, I'm so clumsy. And compared to all of my other friends, I am ridiculously clumsy. I will trip over my own shoelaces. Like, I will trip over air. My knees will just give in the middle of the street and I'm like on the floor on my hands and knees trying to clean up my chips, I don't know. I'm always the friend that falls over or the friend that like dips her elbow in something weird or like, I don't know. It's just something that's always been known around my friend group and we kind of just laugh it off. But
what role do you play within your friendship group now?
Mother.
Okay.
I feel like it's either that or I'm like the crazy auntie. I'm always the friend on a night out that has like everything in their bag, like baby wipes, a fresh pair of pants, tampons. I've got paracetamol, a pair of fold-up shoes, like all of this stuff, lollipops in case there are people with who are not okay. Like I've got all of this stuff. We actually have a thing in my town called street pastors. I don't know if you sort of have them around. Basically, they walk around on a Saturday and they give out like lollipops and flip-flops and like nightcaps and all of this stuff. And I feel like I'm just that, but for my friends.
Mobile version.
I am the person who's like, can I put my purse in your bag? Yeah. Can I put my bag in your bag? Yeah. And I'm carrying around Mary Poppins' bloody satchel that weighs the same as a small child on a night out. I am that friend. And I feel like my mum has always trained me to be that friend. We have a phrase in my family, which is PPPPPPP. And I know that sounds weird. It's prior planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Very good.
It's a squaddy term. And it's something I live by. I may not be able to clean up my room, but my God, my bag has everything in there for an apocalypse.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Like, not a tidy room, but I'm prepared for any event if we go out.
I'm tidy in certain things, like obsessively tidy in certain things. But then other things, I'm like, yeah, I clean it in a week. It's fine.
How have you found the music industry?
Oh my God. I feel like the music industry is now really starting to adjust to neurodivergence in the industry. But I feel like when I stepped in, it was sort of just getting there. Like there's someone on my label who is heavily neurodivergent. And at the time I joined, she was like, yeah, like The Office, we've just spoken. Like they all now know I'm neurodivergent and know how to work around me as well. And for me, that was such a shock that while everything else is progressing so fast, the music industry hasn't as much. Sometimes it's really hard to keep up with emails. I can't. It's so difficult. You know the whole thing of like placement. If it's not there, doesn't exist. I struggle with creating a list and like sort of sticking to the list or scheduling or anything. So obviously the music industry is very much like you need to be here to do this, then here, then here, then here. And for the first year of being in the industry, I spent a lot of time living out of like hotel rooms, or I'd spend like 5 days down here in a hotel and get horrifically homesick. And obviously, you know, a lot of neurodivergent people, we get homesick so quickly because we're in a situation that involves a lot of change. And God, I'm going to say it again, I hate change. But
do you hate change?
No, actually, I really love it. Like, change my childhood meals, put pepper in my mac and cheese. It's fine. I won't kill you. It's okay. But yeah, I feel like it's so regimental. And then as someone who A, doesn't have any time management, B, has no organization, it's just like you've literally thrown me into the death pit. But I'm slowly getting used to it. I have such an incredible team around me. And I have my dad as well. And my dad does a lot of the monetary side of things. He does a lot of like admin for me and kicks my ass.
Tell me about trust in your team and the industry.
My dad, I'm just going to say, my dad is my number one human. Like I trust him with my life, my soul. And the same with my mum. And so having my family close is just such a blessing. My team are amazing. I've got a majority female team anyway. My hair and makeup artists both are very weird and wonderful as well. Like when you look at them, I feel like when I look at my makeup artist, if I didn't know her, I would guess that she was quite like normal. I said sometimes I come out around normal, but when I met her at a Spotify thing. She is the weirdest, most wacky, amazing set of two people, like her and my hairdresser, and I love them, and I feel so comfortable to be in a room of like people who are in such different aesthetics. All of us have like chronic ADHD. Same with my stylist, same with my label as well. I feel like EMI screamed to me because when I walked into EMI, they have like loads of painted murals on the wall, like these crazy fun colors. It's all really bright. I met obviously at the time when I met Becky and Joe and was just so infatuated by two such strong female figures being the heads of labels. And I instantly felt comfortable. Half of my team have ADHD. Half of my team are neurodivergent. So I have the most incredible bass guitarist and guitarist, Rue and Jesse. They are some of my favorite people. I've got my drummer and my pianist as well. Both of them are just incredible women. I am so lucky to have a team of people around me that are both so understanding and just generally incredible individuals with their own sparks and quirks. And I love them all for it, you know?
Yeah, and look how empowering and galvanizing and liberating when I share the sentiment of like, I feel like I've got the best team in the world. And that means I feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
And that is it
sets you up to win.
It does it, and it sets you all up to win.
Yeah.
And
we empower each other.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm very competitive, so I want to win.
Yeah.
I do really want to win.
it's bizarre. I feel like I'll meet other artists and I'm like, I love you as a person. You are amazing, but you are my competition. And like I did like these singing competitions when I was younger. They were called Studfords, and they were these poncy up-arsed competitions with like invigilators, and the majority of girls that would enter these competitions would be private school girls, like girls with matching hats and matching socks and ironed little blazers and would say butter with 2 T's. And I came from Kettering, and I was this little cancer girl with my crappy uniform on with a tea stain on it. I won once, and it was the only time I have ever truly felt a win. I'm competitive. Me and my I've got an older brother, so I've always been a bit competitive, and he doesn't really give a crap. He's so laid
But you're
back.
competitive now? You feel competitive within the music world now?
Yeah, I feel like you have to be. If you don't want to win, you don't want it. And obviously, I went through a very sort of rough period of time when I was sort of 15 to even 17, where I had no motivation. I had no drive. Like I would do this thing where my dad would like leave me to work in my office, and then I'd hear his footsteps coming up. I'm halfway through a power nap, and I'd know exactly how to morph back into position to make it look like I was working. I did that for a long time, and then it wasn't really until I got into the industry that I went, okay, I've got here now. This is amazing. I'm so privileged to be in this position as opposed to so many artists that could have been given this opportunity. I need to put my ass in gear and I need to work. And my dad is so driven and just so set on things. I've never met someone who works so hard and has so much drive. And I did not understand for so many years why I just didn't have it. But he always talks to me and gives me these amazing pep talks and these mantras and like, you cannot give up. I want to succeed solely for the purpose of showing the industry and those kids that you can make it. If you are passionate enough about something, if you love something and you have the devotion to this thing, you can absolutely make it. And it does not matter if you are a skinny mini, if you're big, if you're small, if you're tall, if you're weird and wonderful, or if you are the most boring human being on the planet. If you have the passion and the drive for something, you can achieve it with the right morals.
Yeah, go get it. Tell me about having a therapist.
Oh, I love it. I actually rejected therapy a good couple of times before I actually ended up getting a therapist. I was so set on the notion that therapists don't do anything. I'm not that screwed up, you know? I got bullied for several years, but I'm coping with it in my own way. Wrong. The moment I got a therapist, it felt like for the first sort of 2-3 weeks of having this therapist that my life was just like peeling like a banana in front of me and I was losing these things. But it has been the most beneficial thing that I've ever said yes to. My therapist is incredible. He has really helped me move past a lot of deep trauma and a lot of bullying, but also helped me understand my parents as well in the regards of like, they've never had a 21-year-old daughter. They've never had a 26-year-old son. Mm-hmm. And he reminded me that, you know, they're still learning. And so we've gained a relationship from that. It's helped me and my partner. I feel like if you are a musician and you are in this industry, you need a therapist. You need someone to be able to withhold the amount of stress that you endure daily. I have got grays at 21. I'm losing hair. Like I'm actually losing hair. And if I didn't have a therapist, I reckon I'd already be grey because it's such a stressful industry. It can be both incredible, but you need a therapist. He's really helped me through a lot of stuff. I'm very lucky that Universal provided me with this therapist and that I don't, you know, because I know how pricey they can be, but it's the best thing I ever decided to do. And it is the main reason why I'm able to stand here with a healthy mental state and be able to talk about a lot of my old trauma and stuff on podcasts or on, you know, interviews and stuff without like breaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Basically.
Therapists are cool.
Yeah, therapists are cool. And the irony is, I think it's an amazing competitive advantage for you. Absolutely. Like it sounds like a strange thing, but who knew that sharing what's going on and looking after your mental health, who knew that could be really an amazing thing to do for your career? Honestly,
I feel like I've spoken to a lot of kids nowadays, and I was a teacher for a little bit as well. And in that period of time, I did actually mention the notion of like therapists or counselors, especially to some of the kids that were a little bit or needed that sort of support. And they were like, no, that's so uncool. Like, if I tell my friends I have a therapist, they're going to think I'm weird. And I'm like, you will understand when you're older then.
So we had Chelsea Grimes on. She's obviously an amazing songwriter. You're obviously an amazing songwriter, Mae. And I know I'm not alone in this. My God, your songs are catchy. They are like, I know I'm saying that like it's a bad thing, but they are so earwormy.
Thank you.
How do you do that? How do you make something that just sticks?
Neurodivergence. I actually will stand by that. I've always been able to write in short time space. I've been writing for, since I was 12. And I feel I used to time myself, or I used to like sit there and I used to read the dictionary. Like I would actually take great joy in reading the dictionary. I got bullied for that. But I learned so much vocabulary that I can write into my songs, but I'm not able to articulate that because I wasn't able to articulate, through English and stuff. I can speak very simply, but then when it comes to my lyrics, I'm able to fully articulate what I want to say. And I feel like with my songs, I don't take it too seriously. I'm not the kind of artist that walks in and goes, right, we need a verse, then we need a chorus, then we need this, and you need to do it like this. I'm kind of like, we'll see how it goes. I'm in with different people. I'm in with different minds. And I feel like, it's important as an artist to take in the other person's perspective and their knowledge. And for example, with If We Ever Broke Up, I wrote it with an incredible woman called Gia Coca, and then my producer, Maureen, he is incredible as well, both of which had some insane ideas. And sort of me and Gia came up with this little riff. I can show you the original like voice note if you want for If We Ever Broke Up, and you'll be able to hear like the process of where it started.
I would love that.
Do you want me to play it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we ever broke up, I'd never be sad, thinking about everything that we had. If we ever broke up, I'd call your dad and tell him all the shittiest things you said. I never want to lie to you, I always hated you, and I still know it's true. If we ever broke up, I love so hard, I tell everyone you left me drunk and scarred. If we ever broke up, I'd be online telling everybody that you wasted my time.
Yeah, that's the OG. The OG.
7 billion views on TikTok later.
It really started with just a bunch of random lyrics. One thing I find as a writer, none of my lyrics make sense. I have to have someone like come in and go, we need to rephrase it, because currently it sounds like a pot of tea and something. I know I can have like a very sarcastic tone to my voice because I'm either like overly British or just generally just slangy to the tone of my voice. And a lot of people have said that that's also like an aspect of why the song was so catchy, because there was a lot of sarcasm in If We Ever Broke Up, like a ridiculous amount.
Okay.
Because it was a piss take on an ex-boyfriend. Yeah, he didn't like the song.
How do you know that it's like, oh yeah, that is going to really stick in people's head? It's
the most like foolproof testing system I've ever had. So my dad is actually extremely musical. When he was a kid, he played, like French horn. He has a voice as well. And as much as he doesn't agree with me, but he has an incredible ear for music. In fact, my dad can actually hear sounds underneath layers of other sounds. He can pick out certain aspects of a song, which is something I've never been able to do. And I'm in such like a high respect for him to be able to do that. And so when I play my dad a demo, for years, we've done this every time. If my dad doesn't like it, I'm kind of like, okay, we can go back, we can revise it, whatever. But if my dad has this like Cheshire cat grin when something's good. And I got this demo back in November after we'd written in the summer. And he turned around and he had this massive grin. And I went, is this going to be something? And my dad went, I think it might be. Like, I genuinely think it will. And I judge all of my songs on that. My dad has never been wrong, and I will always trust my dad's gut. Honestly,
Wow.
He just has an ear for it. I said to him he'd make a phenomenal A&R. Like, I'm not going to lie, he would make a great A&R. But yeah, he just has an amazing ear for music and picking out certain sounds. Like I played him, for example, Stranger, which is on my debut EP Securely Insecure. Definitely go check it out. Sorry.
Plug.
Marketing. But on my track Stranger, there's so many levels. And like we have live strings on there and other stuff. And he just went, he's like, he can pick this like tiny slivered layer of sound out of that entire song, and it just baffles me how he can do it. I don't know. I think you're a robot. I'm not gonna lie.
I think
It's
we need
insane.
to get Steve on the show. Do you know what I mean?
No, my dad is.
I didn't sign up for this.
I'm the manager. That's it.
Yes.
He's the dadager.
It's the dadager. You're so great, Mae, and you are funny and incredibly self-aware.
Thank you.
And driven, and you're ambitious, and your heart's in the right place, and you're doing things for the right reasons. And I know you're inspiring a lot of people.
Thank you.
To be themselves, chase the dreams, and I just massively applaud you.
Thank you.
As someone who's got 3 daughters who are much younger than you, and one of them being one of your massive fans. Yeah, you're a brilliant inspiration. So thank you for coming on. We asked you to bring one thing.
I brought 2. I can't. This is Sophie. She is floppy and I believe like 18 years old. This is my childhood teddy. She is, I believe, a leopard. She's a bit scrunkly. She's got a little necklace and the bow is absolutely deceased. She's got a little necklace on here that I made when I was probably about 7. It's really crap, but it's quite cute. She's grey. She has not been washed. And I know people are going to go, ew, you're really gross. No, because if you have a childhood teddy, you will know the smell is something that if you get rid of, that teddy ain't worth nothing anymore. That smell is my childhood. I can't go in the car without her. If I'm going on holiday, she will come with me. Like I'm going to Centre Parks in September, she's coming with me. I can't sleep without her either. I've had this sensation of her like here with my arm most of my life, and if I try and sleep without her, I literally cannot sleep. I will just toss and turn. Yeah, she's a part of me.
So let's not change her.
No, I am a 21-year-old that still sleeps with their childhood teddy, and it is okay. If you are one of those people that think, oh, it's not okay, grow up. This second one is something that's really, really sentimental to me. This year has been incredibly hard. I lost 2 cats in one go. I lost my cat with my partner called Rocket. We'd had him for about a year. We got him and his mum together, and they were honestly the light of my life. He got taken in a hit and run, and so we lost him, and then literally less than a week later, I had to part ways and say goodbye to my childhood cat. He was, believe, just 21. He was a constant in my life, something that I would always, see and cuddle, and we gained such a massive relationship, and his name was Shadow. I had to say goodbye to him. We put him down because he was just ready to go. He'd not been eaten. And so I have this, which is a little ceramic version of him. I'm going to paint he had a little tuft here of white and a little bit on his toe, so I'm going to paint it. I don't believe in supernatural stuff. I don't believe in paranormal, but I needed something to believe in when he died because I just couldn't face the fact that he had. And so I believe that, his soul comes in and out of this, along with another one that I have for Rocket, and that I'm able to still keep them close. And so this is like one of those items where it's like, oh, if your house was burning down, you'd take this. And so I thought I'd bring something that was a part of me. And I don't just mean me as an artist, just me as a person.
Thank you so much, Mae.
I've loved it. It's been
We're
really,
not
really
going to
fun.
keep those items. You can take them home.
I don't know if I could part with this.
I'm not even going to try. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited to watch what comes next. We're excited to follow your journey, and wishing you on from the sides. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Honestly, this is so incredible. It's so fun to sit on here as well. Thank you so much for having me. If you like this episode of The Hidden 20%, make sure to subscribe and like on all platforms. Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Because I'm autistic, I think differently. And back in 2015, I wanted people to drink differently. So I created Seedlip, the world's first distilled non-alcoholic spirits. I took Seedlip from my kitchen to 35 countries and the world's best bars, restaurants, and retailers. And we did it in 3.5 years. It was wild. They're delicious. They're intriguing. They're these distilled botanical blends you can just mix with tonic or have in a cocktail. You really don't need another sickly, horrible mocktail. Check us out on seedlipdrinks.com or Amazon and let me know what you think.